Hey guys, this is Mario again, coming at you with another movie review. It's another entry and Oscar reviews, and today's movie is a Stephen King movie. But you're thinking, what? Yes, there have been a couple Stephen King movies nominated for Oscars. There's a couple that should have been, like The Shining, which I'll probably re-upload that review further down the road. And this is one that got one for acting. And of course the movie is the 1990 film directed by Rob Reiner. Hey, this is the second Rob Reiner movie this year, yay! It is, of course, Misery. It's a film I watched earlier with Jeff. No, we didn't do a commentary, which we should have. That would have been fun, upload this review, then do the commentary. But anyway, the Oscar in this film, of course, went to Kathy Bates for her role as Annie Wilkes, which I have to say, after rewatching the movie, she deserved this award. And it's the only one I think that it got. I think it could have gotten others, but it doesn't say it on the page, but it definitely deserved that one. The movie, other than with Kathy Bates, we got James Caan as Paul Sheldon, we got Lauren Bacall, Richard Farnsworth, and Frances Sternhagen. Now, of course, one fact I should share about this movie is this is one of the films that Stephen King considers to be one of his favorite of the works based on his. He actually has a top 10 list that was actually in one of his short stories collection, which I actually just looked up the list, and some of them I'm not surprised to see on here. Okay, so if you guys are wondering, before I continue with the review, here's the list. I don't think they're in order. They're in alphabetical order from the thing. Alphabetically, the list is Apt Pupil, Cujo, Dolores Claiborne, 1408, Green Mile, Misery, The Mist, Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me. In this last one, after reading a couple comments on here, they make a good point, and I don't see why this one's on here, Storm of the Century. Liked it when I saw it, but technically speaking, he wrote the script directly for that one, so I don't think that should count. You should probably put something else on there. I mean, I think that list is actually pretty good. My list would have some of those that would probably be different, but maybe one day I'll do a list of my top ones. But I'm surprised Carrie isn't on there, but anyway, to the review. Now, I have read the book of this, and I have to say the movie is actually very faithful to the novel, which there are some differences, which I will get to later on in the review. The plot of the movie is that we have Paul Sheldon. He's a famed novelist. He's the author of a series of successful novels involving a character named Misery. Excuse me if I mispronounce his name. Chastain. Okay, it was easy to pronounce. And I know OD one out. Ooh, banana. Anyway, they're basically like romantic novels set like in the 1800s or something. It's one of the things that I got from it's one of the little details they don't share in the movie that's in the novel. Anyway, he is out in Silver Creek, Colorado at a hotel there because it's part of his routine whenever he's finishing a new novel that he'll go there, finish the novel there, then afterwards he'll smoke one cigarette and have a glass of champagne and then leave. He does this, but he doesn't realize this blizzard's coming. It causes him to crash, and he's not wearing his seatbelt, so he gets injured with broken legs and stuff. Luckily for him, he is rescued by Annie Wilkes, who is a nurse, and she brings him to his house. Since she's a nurse, she's able to set his legs, and he's at least happy that he was rescued by a nurse, so you can tell that's at least good for him. But we find out Annie is his #1 fan, and the reason he's in the house is apparently the roads are, snowed in. And of course, she feeds him, takes care of him, and then when the new book that he had published, not the one he was writing obviously, comes out, she gets a little pissed off about the ending, which I'm not going to spoil, and she also doesn't like the new novel he wrote. And it's from these that we really get to see the real Annie Wilkes. She is a crazy, psychotic person. As Jeff said when we were watching the movie, she is bipolar. Which, of course, like I've said before, Jeff would know, because of his mother, but kind of like that, I guess you could say. But she's worse. And eventually Annie makes Paul write a new novel that retcons part of the ending of the previous novel, so he goes with it. And as you can guess, as the movie goes on, he's concerned with trying to get away. She's trying to keep him there. And at the same time, people in the outside world are trying to figure out what happened to him. Like, there's a sheriff character who, if I remember correctly, does not have a counterpart in the novel, who is trying to find him. His literary agent's worried about him, etc. And it all comes into a great climax. Oh yeah, down here, she only won. Oh yeah, it was the only Oscar. Hey, this is cool. Kathy Bates won every award she was nominated for it. She won, except for the Saturn Award, she only got nominated. She won the CFCA Award for it, and she won the Golden Globe Award, so 3 awards, that's cool. Anyway, now the book I have over there, but it's in the back of the case, I'm too lazy to get it. It's basically the same story. There's only differences, like, obviously, since it's a book, we get inner monologues, like, Paul does some insults, like when Annie mentions a photographer that she was involved with at one point, which is a minor connection to The Shining, by the way, because he was there to photograph the hotel after the explosion. He does like a little joke in his head, like, yeah, you'd have to have been crazy to get it up for you, Annie, you know, fat joke. And one difference is that in the book, he actually contemplates on doing the thing that we see Paul do in the movie with the pills, but he doesn't do it because he thinks, something like that would only work in a movie. Ironic. I think that's probably why they did it. Like, you know what, let's try that in the movie. Another thing is, and this is obviously the different medium things, this will not work very well in a movie. Maybe in an older movie, but not now. Is that we actually get to read what he's writing, instead of the characters just talking about it a little bit. Which is interesting because it gives a little detail into what Paul's misery books are actually like, which is how I know that they're romantic novels set in the 1800s, because you actually read it at a couple points. And also it sets insight into the fact that his typewriter is missing an N, because it's written like a typewriter and you can tell the N's are written in, which is interesting. Another thing is that there is, of course, a scene that was shot for the movie but deleted where Annie kills a cop with a lawnmower, which I really do want to see that deleted scene. I haven't seen it. If I have, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read the novel, so bear with me. I'm trying to remember all the differences off the top of my head. Like I said, yeah, one thing is that we don't go back and forth between a cop and Annie. It's all set in the house. Oh yeah, one of the biggest differences is the famous hobbling scene, which I'm not going to say the context of it, obviously, because I don't want to spoil. But it's actually worse in the movie, in my opinion, because in the novel, it's an axe and it's a clean cut and then cauterized wound. Whereas in the movie, hammer, log. That's going to hurt a little bit more. And of course it gets one of my favorite little things in it. Hi, Puddin'. Ah, you kidder. I get it, but I always laugh whenever I see that. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's a classic film. It's one of my favorite Stephen King movies. I've loved it ever since I saw it in Cinemas with Literature. I really wish I had it, because we had to watch it through instant Netflix. It's a movie that deserved the Academy Award that it got, because Kathy Bates did a magnificent job, and I'm actually happy that she decided to be in another Stephen King movie, which, if I remember correctly, I think I might be able to watch it for part of this thing, because I know it's on Netflix instant as well, and I think it got an Oscar nomination. I'll have to check. And of course, I'm talking about Dolores Claiborne, in case you're wondering. Rob Reiner did great as a director. I'm still surprised he didn't get a Best Director nomination, but, you know, politics. James Caan did a great job. I don't know if I would say... I would say probably at least Oscar nominated role, but maybe not winning, but at least a nod. I'm glad he at least got a Saturn Award nomination. The music by Mark Shaman, it's not like something that will pop off your head, but it really does set the tone of the movie, because sometimes music does help a movie. Like Psychos, that's a good example of how music helps a movie. Indiana Jones, another good example. And it's one of the Stephen King movies that gets the adaptation right, because you know sometimes they're good movies, but shitty adaptations. Like I've said before, I like Kubrick's Shining, but as a faithful adaptation, no. And then of course the other one, from what I remember, it's too faithful. It drags on in parts, but I'll have to rewatch it. But this one, it's one of the ones based off Stephen King's works that does right, and it always seems it's just shorter works that happens with. Usually either a short story will only have to add minor things to it, or one of the shorter novels, because this novel is only like 300 and something pages. Most of his more newer novels are like 6 minimum. Anyway, my rating for the movie, 5 out of 5. If you are a King fan, I'd say give the movie a watch.